Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to be reading my friends' 5-star reads today. I am lucky enough to have a lot of friends that read, so I was able to get 5-star book recommendations from my friends, and we're going to be reading all of those in this video. I'm going to just jump right into this because we are currently on a road trip driving home from Georgia to Florida, and I think we have 3 or 4 more hours left of driving, so I want to try to get a lot of reading done on this trip home. I am starting off with my friend Z and Kyla's recommendation because they actually recommended the same book as their 5-star read, and that is Quicksilver. So I'm going to jump into this book and I will let you guys know what I'm thinking. I think that this one's going to be really good because I have heard really good things and I am a romantic girl. So let's go ahead, let's get started and jump into the first book, Quicksilver. It is the next day, but we are back in the car because we needed to run to the auto parts store. So my husband is in there getting something for my car. And then I think we are planning to run to the playground just so my daughter can run around so we can just get out of the house. But I am currently 136 pages into Quicksilver. I'm really enjoying it so far. It's feeling like a fantasy that I'm gonna be really into. So that's exciting. Other than that, I don't have a ton of thoughts yet. We're still learning about our main character and her connection to these fae that she has fallen in with. We're learning about the fae and about their history and about who I'm pretty sure is our male main character, Kingfisher. I moved my bookmark in my physical book this morning because I was like, oh, I'm sure I've gotten so far into this and it's like this far, and I was like, oh, I'm not. But I'm 23% of the way, so almost a quarter. I'm gonna hopefully keep reading while we are out and about today, while we're at the playground, but I also do want to hang out with my kid, so I'll keep you updated. Especially like while I do my treadmill walking that I do at the beginning of every gym session that I have. Then I'm gonna do some weights and go to a yoga class afterwards. I'm 41% of the way through Quicksilver. Really enjoying it. We are learning a lot. There have been some complications that have arisen, and I think that they're only going to make things more interesting. So I am really enjoying it so far. After the gym, I am probably going to come home, have lunch, and then do some reading at home. See how far I can get into the book today. My husband has to take his truck into the shop today, and he's just gonna wait at the shop while they're working on his truck. And then if I get done with yoga before his truck gets done, then I'm just gonna go pick him up before I come home. But yeah, that's my plan for today. That's the only stuff I really have set in stone. So let's go to the gym. So I am clearly in bed. It is 8 o'clock at night. My daughter is asleep. My husband is at work. So I am trying to get some reading done. I am about 75% of the way into Quicksilver. And so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm trying to decide if I have like any strong thoughts on it yet. It kind of feels a lot like almost every fantasy book I've ever read. Like I'm kind of waiting to see if something happens that's gonna make it stand out. The only thing I can think of at the moment is that this is more of a physical attraction before it is like an emotional attraction. And I don't feel like that's always the case in fantasy books. Maybe it's because the emotional connection is supposed to help us like the like dark and broody, morally gray character more. So I think I've had a harder time coming around to Kingfisher, if I'm being completely honest. I hope you guys can hear me over the fan. I just realized my fan is running, so this might not be the best audio clip. But I'm coming around to him. I am. I don't really want to spoil anything. So far, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Again, I'm 75% of the way through. So, let's see if we can finish this soon. just finished Quicksilver. I'm gonna give you all my thoughts kind of at the end of this video. I think I'll just like wrap up my thoughts on each book at the very end. But I did finish this. It is now, I think it's around 8 o'clock at night. My daughter's asleep, and since it's only 8 o'clock, I think I'm gonna move on into the next book. I do have a big basket of laundry sitting at the foot of my bed right now, so I'm kind of thinking I might put on an audiobook and listen to that so that I can knock that laundry out and I don't have to worry about it tomorrow. I also am wanting to like paint my toenails and do a couple other things tonight, so an audiobook sounds like a good idea. With that said, I am going to start listening to The Things We Cannot Say by Kelly Rimmer. This book was suggested to me by my friend Savannah. This is my best friend, Savannah. We have been friends since we were in high school. Well, since she was in middle school and I was in high school, because she is a couple years younger than me. I know basically nothing about this book other than the fact that Savannah considers it a 5-star read. So let's get into it. Again, I'm going to do the audiobook so I can just knock some stuff out. I will probably give you guys an update in the morning when I get far enough into the book that I start to have a couple thoughts. So far in my book. So I have been doing the audiobook and I've been listening to the audiobook on Spotify. I have made it to, I think, chapter 10. It is a World War II historical fiction book and it takes place in dual timelines. So we are following, in the current timeline, Alice, and Alice's grandmother just had a stroke. Alice has a son who is nonverbal and he uses an iPad to communicate. And after her grandmother's stroke, they realized that the grandmother has an easier time communicating when using her son's iPad. She is trying to make sense of some of the things that her grandmother is telling her, but we're also getting flashbacks or like scenes from the past in World War II of the grandmother when she was, I think, 16, and she lived in Poland. She is from Poland and she was there whenever the Nazis came and invaded. I have already cried once, got teary-eyed one time, so I would say so far so good. I am enjoying the book. I'm excited to listen to the rest of it, but I have to wait a couple days, unfortunately, because I ran out of Spotify audiobook hours. I did request the book on Libby, so I am hoping I can get that soon, but if not, then I'm just gonna wait until my audiobook hours come through and I will finish that book. I will be coming back to you guys in the next clip when I finally am able to finish listening to the audiobook, whether that's on Libby or when I get my Spotify hours. Okay, so my audiobook hours for Spotify are taking longer than I really thought they were going to come back. And I also have another book that I need to use Spotify to listen to for this exact same video. So I realized I had a Fable credit of $15 and I used that Fable credit to download the remainder of The Things We Cannot Say. So I'm going to actually be reading it on my phone, and I will try to insert a couple clips of myself reading on my phone if I can get them, and then let you guys know what I think of this book. Again, so far, I've really enjoyed it. It's kind of got me hooked with the dual timeline, and there's a little bit of a, I wouldn't say mystery aspect, but we're trying to figure out exactly what it is that the grandmother is trying to communicate to our main character, Alice. Yeah, let's just keep reading. Let's see where this story goes, because I feel like it's gonna take an emotional hit, and it's gonna have me crying more than I already have. verge of tears. I'm trying to hold it together. I'm on chapter 31. And the thing that I just read about is so sad. It's so sad. Oh my gosh. We're trying to figure out what it is that the grandmother wants Alice to find, and wants Alice to figure out about her past and about her history and about what she experienced and went through living in Poland during World War II. And we are reading that timeline while we are also reading the grandmother's timeline from when she was young and what it was that she was experiencing. And chapter 31 is the grandmother's point of view from when she was young and when they were planning to try to leave Poland. And oh my gosh, I'm gonna keep reading, of course. I'm hoping I can actually finish the book tonight. Again, I'm on chapter 31 and there's only 40 chapters, so I should hopefully be able to finish this tonight. I need to take a second. I'm realizing that the problem with reading on my phone is that it doesn't tell me how much longer I have in a chapter like the Kindle does. And in fact, on Fable, it doesn't even say, I don't think, not that I have seen, how many pages are left in the chapter or how many pages you have in a chapter, so I can't look ahead and see how many pages I have left in the book. I'm currently on chapter 37. It is 9:40 at night. I'm hoping I can at least finish this chapter before bed, but if that's the case, then tomorrow I will have 3 more chapters to read, and hopefully I will be done with this book. It's very emotional, very sad, but I'm hooked. I want to know what's gonna happen. Okay, everybody, so I finished The Things We Cannot Say just a couple of hours ago, and that was a good book. Oh my gosh, I knew basically almost right away that I was going to enjoy it. I was very interested in the whole, like, I keep saying mystery element. I don't necessarily think it was a mystery. It's just we're trying to solve what exactly it is that happened to Alice's grandmother back during World War II, and how it was that she was able to escape Poland and come to the United States, because she's never been able to bring herself to recount that part of her life and tell her daughter, her grandchildren, anything. So we are learning this alongside Alice, and it was very emotional. As you saw, I cried multiple times. But we are going to have to move on to the next book soon, and I'll give you guys, again, just like all the other ones, my final thoughts at the end. Okay, everybody, it is a chill night here in my house. My daughter is already in bed, so I am getting ready to start reading or listening to the audiobook for A Love Letter to Whiskey. This is the 5-star read that was suggested to me by my friend Brittany. I really don't know a lot about this book, except that it is a romance, I think, but I think it kind of takes place in the past. Like, I think we are reading about a relationship that has already happened, and it's kind of all I know. So I'm very excited. I've seen that the reviews on this book are really great, and I've actually already started the foreword, and it seems like, based off of the foreword, that this book is just really popular. So I'm excited to start it, and I'm going to be coloring. I bought some like new alcohol markers today. They're kind of like cheap ones. I bought them at Burlington because I just saw them and I thought I would try them out. They are Flomo Creative alcohol markers, and I'm coloring with them. I really like this green. I've used it on like 3 pictures already today. So I'm gonna do some audiobook listening and do some coloring. Spoil what's happening in this book. Oh my gosh. But what they are talking about right now is just kind of hitting me personally. And whew, like sweating. It's like making me so emotional. So I'm listening to A Love Letter to Whiskey while we are in the car. And I'm crying. Can you see the tears in my eyes? This couple, oh my gosh, they are giving me whiplash, emotional whiplash, and it is destroying me. The empath in me is just so bruised and so upset and so emotional. So yeah, wow. You guys, please excuse my appearance, okay? I know I don't look fabulous. I am 58% of the way through this book. How am I only 58% of the way through the book? And there is so much that has happened. And I am emotionally almost as distraught as these characters. Excuse my lisp. I have my retainer in. Okay, it's bedtime. I am reading past bedtime. The emotional whiplash that I am feeling of like, I'm so happy, things are going well, and oh my gosh, no, they're not. I keep crying. I keep tearing up because I feel their pain and their frustration, and it's killing me. Okay, but I'm also kind of confused. So I just finished chapter 23, and I was like on the verge of tears, crying. And then it said epilogue, and I was like, wait, but I'm only 60% of the way through the book. So I looked at the content page thing on my Kindle, and it says that there's an epilogue part 2. And that goes on for, I don't know, like 10 more pages. And then there's an additional part that says Love Whiskey. And that's like 200 pages long. So, I don't know what that is. So I will come back and give you guys an update after I read everything I'm going to read. But so far, this book... Hello. This book has torn me to shreds. there is a almost second book involved in this because this is the 5th anniversary edition. So there's like a POV, like his POV at the end. So, and I'm already crying and I can't stop. This is so good. I just finished A Love Letter to Whiskey, and wow, that book was just so much better than I was expecting it to be. I honestly wasn't sure what to expect. I had put that book on my Kindle, I don't know, maybe like a year ago, because it was available on Amazon Prime Reading, and I had saved it onto my Kindle and never read it. And I didn't think I was ever going to get to it, so I ended up deleting that off of my Kindle until Brittany told me that that was the 5-star book that she was recommending for me. And I am so glad that I finally got around to reading that, and so glad that I'm doing this video so it could give me the push I needed to read that book, because that was insane. I will give you my full thoughts and my ratings at the end of this video, but just know from right now that this book was so good. I loved it. Next, I'm going to be starting the audiobook for my next book, which is The Favorites. This book was recommended to me by my friend Melody, and it is another book that I have heard really, really great things about, and I've been wanting to read it but was not sure when I was going to get to it. So while I am doing my hair, I figured I would go ahead and pop in my headphones and I would start the audiobook. I've heard the audio version of this book is like amazing. So let's get started. I'm already only into like the introduction, and this is amazing. It's like the intro to a documentary. It's like listening to a documentary so far. So I'm enthralled. I am so excited. Several hours later, it is now like early afternoon, and I am on chapter 17 of The Favorites. So far, this book is very enthralling. I don't want to put it down. It's like listening to a documentary. I think I might have said that earlier, but you are getting multiple characters' input and point of view on different situations, you know, past and present. And then you are getting a point of view from our main female character as well, who you're hearing from all these outside sources what it is that they thought about her and her ice skating partner, because this book is about ice skating and ice dance. But you're hearing what everyone else was thinking, while then in turn hearing what actually happened from our first person main source. I'm going to continue to listen as I run around and do things around the house. I have done, as you've seen, some coloring, some laundry this morning, and I'm hoping I can just carry out my chill day for the rest of the day. My husband has got our daughter at the playground right now, so I'm going to start figuring out what we're going to eat later, and then just continue to listen to the audiobook as I go. cloudy, rainy day, but it has stopped raining, so we are gonna actually go outside and try to get some stuff done. I want to plant some flowers that will hopefully bloom for springtime. I'm kind of starting late because it is already March and I haven't done it yet, but my husband is going to be doing some work on our stairs for our back porch. And yeah, we're just gonna hopefully knock that out. I have about an hour and a half left in the audiobook, and I'm hoping I can get that finished while we are outside, or depending on how long we are outside, you know, just get that finished here shortly. Sorry, I keep getting distracted because I'm right here by the window and there are animals everywhere. I've seen birds and squirrels and it's just distracting me. My thoughts on the book so far are that I am hooked, but it is very much just a character study, if you will. Like, you are very much listening to or reading a story that is character driven. You are invested in the characters and what they are going through and what they're dealing with. I mean, there is kind of some plot that you're following where you're wondering who's going to win the competitions, but other than that, I'm just wondering what's going to happen, where this is going to go, what is going to take place between the characters, and so far there have been multiple jaw-dropping moments. So let's get into the last little bit of this book. Excuse the coffee maker in the back. I'm making my husband a cup of coffee. I want to tell you guys what I thought about The Favorites because I finished it. Not my full thoughts, but just let you guys know that I finished it and that it was good. I knew I was going to enjoy the book because I've heard really amazing things, and like I said, from the get-go, I was just into it. But that book took some twists that I was not expecting. So, wow. Now we have to move on to the next book somehow. Oh my goodness, that was so good. My husband is taking my daughter with him to go. Oh no, you're falling. Okay, maybe that's better. My husband is taking my daughter with him to go to Lowe's and pick up some stuff that he needs to finish the project he's working on. So I am staying home by myself, having some peace and quiet time, and I'm going to knock out hopefully some laundry and some sweeping and just some general cleaning that needs to be done around the house. But in order to do that, of course, I need an audiobook. And since I just finished The Favorites, I need to start something new. So I am starting I Fell in Love with Hope, which is the 5-star recommendation that my sister gave to me. This is my sister, Emma, and Emma gave me this recommendation. We have seen that my friends have been very on par for what my interest in books are, and like, I've enjoyed every book that they have recommended to me so far. Let's see about the books my sister recommends. Let's see if I enjoy this one as much as I've enjoyed the others. Let me start off by saying the trigger warnings. Whoa, look at those. If you are planning to start this book, I haven't gotten to any of, the parts in the book where they happen, but, in the foreword, the author is actually reading the book, and she mentions the trigger warnings or like the things that happen in the book. And yeah, if you are someone who, typically can be affected by some of those trigger warnings or by some trigger warnings, you might want to check those out because it's a lot. I just got off the phone with some of my friends. We were having a little craft night where we were FaceTiming and crafting. This is the little picture I painted. But I'm listening to now, since we're off the phone, I'm listening to the audiobook for I Fell in Love with Hope. And I have thoughts. My thoughts so far are that their writing is like really lyrical and really flowery and poetic. But because of that, I feel like the background of the story is actually super simple. Like where the story is happening is in a hospital, and it's a lot of just sick children that live in a hospital, and you're You're learning about their stories and their illnesses and their families and the things that they're dealing with. But while the story is so simple, it's almost like the writing complicates the story, and I think it's supposed to give it like a whole poetic feel, but it's making it a little complicated to the point that like I'm having a hard time following exactly what they're talking about at some points. I'm gonna keep listening, of course, but I just wanted to mention that because I'm sometimes having to think harder than I want to sometimes when I'm reading to even understand what they're talking about. But we'll see. Maybe if I keep listening, the storyline, maybe the plot will take over and I'll just get used to the writing style. Because maybe it's just that I'm not used to it yet. Let's see. We are done. I am filming this little wrap up end clip while my child is still awake. So if you hear screaming or playing or singing, that is her in the other room. And unfortunately there's nothing I can do about that because she needs to burn off some energy. But I'm going to wrap up my thoughts on all 5 of the books that we read. This took me nearly a month to do. It took me like 3 weeks to read these 5 books. So I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of words. I actually had to write some stuff down so I did not forget. But we're gonna start with the first book that I read. This was Quicksilver that I read because Kyla and Z recommended this book to me. And I did end up coming around to Kingfisher. I didn't hate him. He's not my favorite male main character that I have read. Definitely not my favorite in the fantasy genre, but I didn't really like him that much in the beginning portions of the book and kind of even into some of the later portions. But eventually we get more of his story and his history, and he grew on me. I did like him a little bit. There was so much happening in this book. There were vampires and witches and fae, and they mentioned mermaids, and like there was a lot. So the world is vast, and I feel like we were in a lot of different places and we were getting a lot of information, and I had a whole lot of questions. And some questions didn't really feel like they were that fleshed out, like once we finally got some answers. Some I am still left with, which makes sense because there's another book that's actually just been announced. It comes out later this year. So I am interested in reading the second book. I will be reading that, but I gave this book a 4-star. It wasn't a 5-star in my opinion, but 4 stars is pretty good. I'm never going to talk bad about a 4-star book or talk bad about a 4-star read. I enjoyed this. It was just not a 5-star in my opinion. After that, I read The Things We Cannot Say, and this was my recommendation from Savannah. This book is a World War II historical fiction. I cried my eyes out at some parts. Some parts really just hurt because it's based in true events. It's based on true events. And while the story isn't a true story, it is one that is based on the stories of a lot of people, and one that takes a lot from history, and that makes it hurt even more. I really enjoyed the like dual timeline type point of view where we've got Alice trying to figure out what happened in her grandmother's life, and then the grandmother's kind of point of view telling us what was happening, so that when we get to the end and we figure everything out, it just made it all that more emotionally impactful. And I think that this book, it has a lot of relevance even today because it mentioned, that the hatred that happened and that led up to World War II, it started as small disruptions, and it grew and it grew and it grew. And every day in our world, we are seeing small disruptions, small acts of hate towards people. And I think that, you know, if left unchecked, things could always take a turn. But I'm giving this book 5 stars. I really, really liked this book. Me and Savannah have super similar reading tastes, so I'm not surprised that she would know that this book would be a 5-star for me. I loved it, and I will be recommending this book to many people. After that, I read A Love Letter to Whiskey, and as I mentioned to you guys before, this is a book that I was planning to read, but then I just kind of assumed I wasn't going to get to it anytime soon, and I had deleted it off my Kindle, like just a couple months ago. And now that I have read it, oh my gosh, this book was toxic. Like, it was kind of toxic, I'm not gonna lie. The relationship had me feeling like I was on a roller coaster. I was infuriated at some points, because why could we just not communicate? I am the #1 hater of a miscommunication trope. But did I eat it up in this book? Yeah, I did. There's also some other tropes that I typically hate that were in this book, and I still loved it. I still loved the messy mess of this book. It was so good. I personally didn't feel like all the bonus content and like extra stuff that was added into this 5th anniversary edition, that it was necessary. I really enjoyed like the beginning and kind of the end of the Love Whiskey portion, like the little extra book that's tacked on to the end. I felt like we could kind of infer a lot of it. So it was just kind of like recounting a lot of the same stuff, and that part was a little boring to me. The first whole book, I loved that. And then I really enjoyed the beginning and the ending of Love Whiskey. So I'm giving this book 5 stars. Yeah, I am. It was in a way kind of reminding me of, you know the song Picture by Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow? That's what it was giving. Anyways, go listen to that song and tell me, if you read this book, listen to that song and tell me if it reminds you of this book, because that's what it was giving to me. Again, 5 stars. Brittany outdid herself on this recommendation. And while we are talking about borderline toxic relationships, let's go ahead and talk about Melody's recommendation, which was The Favorites. The Favorites is about a couple who are also ice dance partners, and they go through a lot, not just personally, but in their relationship and in the fact that she's a little more interested, our female main character, Katerina, is a little more interested in being an ice dancer than our male main character. He's really only in this for her. But watching what they go through and then where the story goes to is insane. I started to feel a little bit bored when we were getting into the repetitiveness of the competitions, like hearing, oh, they won this one, they took bronze in this one, they you know, however in each of the ways they placed. But the ending was crazy. I didn't expect that in the slightest, and I ate it up. I also didn't realize that this was going to take place having to do with like the Olympics going into this. I guess I thought it was going to be smaller competitions, but I grew up watching Michelle Kwan in the Olympics doing ice skating. I think hers was figure skating though, and I was obsessed with her as a child. So reading this book, I did end up having to go on TikTok and look up some ice dance videos, because I remember last time in the Olympics there were some couples that were doing ice dance and they would pop up my feed, and I was like giggling and kicking my feet watching those videos. I had to go back and do that just to get myself in the frame of like, oh, this is what I imagine these characters being like. And not to mention the Taylor Swift songs that are mentioned in this book. Perfection. I am giving this book 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars. It felt like a real story. It felt like something that actually happened, and like I was reading a documentary about a real event. And the book was so good. I loved it. And then the final book that we read in this video was A Love Letter to Hope. This is the video that was, no, That's not the name of the book. The final book we read is I Fell in Love with Hope. And this book was recommended to me by my sister Emma. This one wasn't my favorite. I know the other books were like right up my lane. Unfortunately, this book was not. It wasn't a bad book in any sense. Like, I don't want that to be what this sounds like, because I didn't hate the story. I didn't even hate the writing. Just something about it wasn't clicking for me. It was like almost like the writing was distracting from the actual story, so that made it harder for me to connect emotionally to a lot of the characters. The only character that I really felt like connected to was Neo. I really liked him, and I got like really teary on his parts where it talked about him and his family life and stuff like that. But other than that, everyone else just didn't feel super fleshed out. Even though we do get their stories and their backgrounds, I just didn't feel that connected to them. This book I am going to give 3.5 stars. I honestly contemplated doing 3 stars, but it is a really well-written book, a really beautiful, sad, emotional story. Again, don't forget to look at those trigger warnings, because whew, those were a lot, and they did come up. But even like listening to the audiobook, I just didn't want to keep listening. I kept kind of feeling like I wanted to just DNF, if I'm being honest, or like put it off to finish at another time. And that's, if you're feeling that way with the audiobook, that's how you really know you're not connecting to a book. So I finished it anyways. It wasn't my favorite. 3.5 stars. I'm sorry, sister. But that is all 5 of my friends' 5-star reads that they recommended to me, and I love them. I love them all in their own special, certain kind of way. And I thank you guys for watching this really, really long video. I hope you guys have a really great day. I hope you guys come back next week to watch my next video, and I will see you then. Bye!